Welcome to the Stick 49ers podcast. That's right, we've rebranded, going back to our original name. No more Arango. He's on his own now. And I'm here with Lucas Ortiz. I'm Lucas McLaughlin. How you doing, Lucas?
Doing well, man. Happy season number 5 debut.
Yeah.
Excited. Another Super Bowl year, hopefully. We had a little bad ending to the season last year, but
Yeah.
all things considered, I think we should be back
Yeah,
with
we
the
were just
team
talking
back.
off camera. I was watching that receiver show, and then I get past the Lions
It's
game, and
so
I just
good.
want to press stop. Okay, I'm good.
Yeah, great series. Not a great watch in the beginning. Kind of shows the end of last season or the season before with the loss of Brock Purdy in the championship game and the loss to the Eagles, and then of course the end of last year was pretty bad as well with the overtime loss to the Chiefs and the heartbreaker.
Yeah. So we're set up here for the Monday Night Football coming up against the Jets. We just did a great, like almost 30-minute episode. I know you weren't available. I did with Damon Bruce. And I think everyone's going to really enjoy that. I'll put that on right after this little talk here with Lucas. But since he was on assignment, just looking into this season, Lucas, and how do you think we're looking in week one here?
This off season was tough. We had the Super Bowl loss. Then immediately we had Brandon Ayuk going into his unfollowing of the team and his family, sending all these messages of he's played his last game in San Francisco. He wants to trade or he wants to get paid and be one of the top wide receivers, or he is one of the top wide receivers. He wants to be paid like he's one of the top wide receivers in the league. And it just seemed like the battle between him and management, John Lynch, Parag Marathe, to get a deal done just took forever. And it was just all everybody wanted to talk about. And then we had Trent Williams come out of nowhere and say he wants guaranteed money and he's going to hold out of training camp and offseason workouts. So it was kind of tumultuous. It was a bit of a dark cloud and kind of a bummer, to be honest. But luckily, things got strained out right before the start of the actual season. And then we had the almost tragic news of Ricky Pearsall, being shot in the chest and potentially could have died, but has made a miraculous recovery. Is at the team practice, says he could play, which is I think has pumped a lot of energy into the team. It's brought a lot of what was kind of a downer of an off season, and it's kind of it's uplifted us going into the season.
Well, how are we looking in the trenches this year? Why don't we do a little down in the trenches with Lucas Ortiz here? So what do you think in week one, the Jets, Monday Night Football, and McCaffrey's good to go now because he's been nursing an ankle, but running behind that line. So how are we looking on the line this year now that Trent's back?
Flashback to the beginning of training camp, and there was no Trent. So that meant guys like Jalen Moore. So it just meant that guys had to step up during training camp, and we drafted Dominic Puni to be, I think, just a backup, interior lineman at the beginning of training camp. And then there goes down Spencer Burford, who was the heir apparent. Him and Jalon Feliciano were both pretty much absent most of training camp with different injuries. And it allowed Dominic Puni to get the opportunity to start, and he's shined. He's looked really good in the 3 preseason games that I've seen. Everyone comments on how fast, how powerful, how astute he is to the game, and that he doesn't look like a rookie when he plays out there. He's coming out looking like a well-seasoned veteran, and he's earned the starting job as a result of the Spencer Burford and Feliciano not being healthy. So I think we've upgraded on the right side for sure at the guard. I think Colt McKivitz is gonna improve upon his first season as a starter at the right tackle position. Brendel, he may be our weakest position, but he's a solid center. Like, he's not going to win any awards for being an all-pro anytime soon, but he's a solid center. He's smart. He quarterbacks the line. I think we're going to be okay there. And Aaron Banks, a little, some injuries here and there during training camp. I think as a precaution, they didn't really play him too much in the preseason, but he's going to be solid again. And he's been one of our better offensive linemen. I think the second best offensive lineman we've had so far, to Trent, especially coming off of last season's performance. And then Trent made it back. He's re-signed. He's happy. He's getting paid. He's once again one of the highest paid offensive linemen in the league, if not the most. And he's a rock. Like, he's age 36, hasn't missed a beat. I still fully expect him to be one of the best players in the NFL, not just offensive lineman. And I think the continuity of most of the guys from last season coming back is really gonna help out the running game. The pass protection hopefully will be a little bit better, and Brock won't have to throw out of duress. So that's where I see us looking. Injuries could always play a big part of the season, but right now I think this is the one of the healthiest offensive lines there are going into the NFL season.
Nice. You're watching the Stick 49ers podcast with Lucas McLaughlin and Lucas Ortiz. It's great to have you back on the show, and I can't wait, man. It's Monday Night Football.
Big, everybody's gonna be watching.
Yeah,
it's gonna be the only show on, and we got Aaron. I almost said Brett Favre. We got Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers making his return from an Achilles injury that ended 4 plays into the beginning of last season.
That's right. Oh my goodness.
Fun fact. So the player who sacked Aaron Rodgers or was nearest him was Leonard Floyd, who was on the Buffalo Bills last season. And Aaron Rodgers is going to have a little deja vu all over again. Leonard Floyd is now on our team.
Yeah, that's right.
And he'll be lining up against him first game of the season. Should be fun. Hopefully he'll hear the footsteps and not have a good game and have his typical low put out as he's had against the 49ers over the last 5 years. He hasn't really played too well.
Yeah.
We'll have to see.
I think it comes down to injuries, and every team is going to have to deal with some injuries, and it comes down to what kind of depth we have. And the team overall, we're looking good. I'm hoping we're poised to get that big season this year that we need to win it all, so that Shanahan can finally do that. I mean, we've done everything else with Shanahan, so we just got to keep a healthy Brock Purdy and obviously McCaffrey and some of the key players. But so we actually had Damon do a score prediction. He usually doesn't do those, but what do you like for the Monday Night Football scores?
I think the defense is going to struggle a little bit in the first half. I think the Jets were able to move the ball, but then we kind of figure it out, make some adjustments, shut them down in the second half. I think it's going to be definitely a good offensive game for us. I think we're going to score maybe 3 or 4 touchdowns, maybe a couple field goals from Jake Moody, and let's say 27-21 49ers.
Nice.
I think the Jets, like I said, have the ability. They have some weapons. They have Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, Aaron Rodgers is back. I think they can score and move the ball, but in the second half, Nick Sorensen, the new defensive coordinator taking over, is going to have the answers. He's going to know exactly what to do in the second half to slow down the Jets offense. So 27-21, 49ers 1-0.
Nice. So I'm thinking Fred Warner, this just kind of came to me. Fred Warner is going to have a touchdown in this game. And it's going to be Niners 28 and Jets 14.
28-14. All right.
Yeah. All right, cool. So let's take a look at the interview that I did with Damon, and then we'll catch you on the flip side, and we'll see how we do this week. And then thanks for tuning in to the Stick 49ers podcast. Yep. All right, man. Let's take a look at the tape. Damon Bruce, once again, on our show, and he's done all 5 years, folks. He's a good friend of the program, and we thank him so much for coming on. All right, Lucas, thanks, and let's see how the Niners do, and catch you next week.
Go Niners.
All right, go Niners. All right, so this is Lucas McLaughlin. Lucas Ortiz is on assignment, and we're here with the great Damon Bruce, longtime Bay Area broadcaster turned podcaster. How you doing, Damon?
I'm doing great. I figured we did this right around this time last year, and the 49ers went to the Super Bowl. So, we got to do our part. We had to have another conversation. How are you doing, man?
Pretty good. It's always great to have you on the show. We've been really lucky to have you on every season. I think this is our 5th year now. So great to have you on. And let's get right to it. So I know it's been quite an off season, disaster, and just waiting for these guys to sign. Headache. I've listened to your show too, so it's just been crazy, but it's nice right now. We've got Brandon, we've got Trent. I'm just curious, which guy do you think was more important to the team if you had to make that call?
I think it's far and away Trent Williams.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a man who, holds up a unit that a lot of people kind of look side-eyed at to begin with. I mean, he's one of the best offensive tackles in football. And look, Brandon Ayuk is without a doubt one of the better wide receivers in all of football, but he's not, the key essential piece that if you take him out, I don't know if the 49ers function quite as well, but without Trent Williams, you're really asking for it. I mean, he adds yards per play for every pass pro that he's out there for every run blocking assignment. He makes life easier for the entire offense. Now, Brandon Ayuk is an incredible weapon, but you can better duplicate what one of your wide receivers can do with another wide receiver. It's a next man up league. It really is. There really is no one who can next man up and give you the same type of performance as Trent Williams gives you at left tackle. So I thought he was the priority. They both needed to get done for this team to really maintain its credibility. And I'm glad, as you said, it was a painful offseason. It really was a long drawn out process, but all can be forgiven if they're out there week one. And it really looks like they will be. And that's good news.
Yeah. And so with week one, and not having any playing time or, practicing with the team. I know with Trent, it doesn't really matter. He's obviously Trent Williams. So, but how much does that play into how many reps they get? And I guess also McCaffrey, who just came back from the injury, do you see them having him have less reps just because it's week one, or do you think he'll just be full on McCaffrey mode?
I think you got to approach the beginning of the season with a little bit of caution if you're the 49ers, especially with guys that haven't had the full complement of preseason work, and all of those guys fall under that umbrella. So you're going to want to monitor everything, but the NFL isn't a game of load management or pitch counts either. Yeah. It really isn't. I think that McCaffrey is an easy problem to solve because you have Jordan Mason, who's a fine backup and can give you quite a bit of carries and production. Maybe you don't have Ayuk out there for, all your offensive snaps. Most left tackles play the entire game. Maybe you rotate in Jalen Moore just so you don't have a massively load-bearing night on a body that really isn't football ready. But I also think that Trent Williams is a big boy, and he knows what it takes to play in this league, and he better be in the kind of shape that it takes to give this team 50, 60 offensive snaps, just 6-7 days after signing his extension. So everybody knows what the deal is. You can't ask for more money and then say, hey, don't ask for more playing time. Yeah. It doesn't all fit together. So I think that these guys are going to be asked to officially come to work and go to work, as they should be. They better be ready. They're both veterans. They both know what to do.
Yeah. And that said, it's a brutal sport. Injuries happen. I mean, unfortunate things happen, especially in football. So, we could end up having to deal with one of these guys out anyway. Hopefully not. But
look,
but,
I've always thought that the concept of being worried that a football player could get hurt, it's just a red herring. Yeah, I mean, it's something to click on. It's a story. Every single one of these guys could be hurt on any play of practice. I mean, we have non-contact injuries all over the place. This is a brutal sport. So the concept of you might get hurt is, I mean, everybody's got that coin in their pocket at all times. Just, will we see it tonight? And the teams that show you the we got hurt coin the least often are the teams that turn into best shot to win a championship at the end of the year. This is a sport that is based on an awful lot of skill, an awful lot of preparation, but an awful lot of luck along the way. It really is. Yeah.
It's, what do you think about Hufanga coming back? And do you think there's a future for him on this team, or do you think it's sort of this year and then we'll see what happens kind of thing? Or because we kind of did okay without him. I mean, obviously he's a good player and hopefully he's going to be at full strength. But what do you think about the Hufanga situation?
Well, look, I really like Malik Mustafa. I really like Jair Brown. I think that Talanoa Hufanga is an important player on this team. And I did think that his absence was felt in a running game that sort of got away from this defense. And the secondary right now is probably the best in the entire Kyle Shanahan regime. It really is. It might even be the strongest defensive unit on the team. So, I think he adds to it. I don't think he's a guy that you look to take out of the equation unless he is thoroughly outplayed and outshined by Malik Mustafa, and that could happen.
Yeah.
Talanoa Hufanga, when he was rehabbing, he's like, my job is not just waiting for me when I get back. They drafted a really, really talented player in Mustafa. So he's going to be fighting for playing time. It's not just assured to him, but man, he's a heck of a player. When he's ready to go and healthy, he's never been anything other than impressive. And so I hope he continues on that path. And if it really is, you've reached the end of the road with the 49ers, it'll only be because they drafted so well behind him that they could, revert what is about to be a very expensive team to a rookie salary at a starting safety spot.
So they just restructured Debo's deal and, converted some money into the signing bonus and saved $16 million or so on the cap. How do we have this many players that are this good and still have cap room like this? And then obviously they're going to conserve some for Purdy. I know you're not a big numbers guy, but they got to conserve money for Purdy eventually here.
Right. And that's what they're certainly looking to do. And you can roll over cap room year to year, and they're going to need to do that. But you're right. I have been talking about this on my channel. It's extraordinary that a team that is, got so much talent, so many Pro Bowlers, so many top paid at their position players on their roster is still this far under the cap. And that just shows you that indeed the number is real, but it's also very manipulatable, and it can be, re-examined and tinkered with in ways that I think, the casual fan worries way too much about cap numbers when it just seems like over and over again, NFL teams figure it out, converting contractual money into signing bonuses. And again, this stuff bores me to tears. I did not get into sports because I liked math. It was actually the opposite. I really got into sports because I hated math and I was bored with it. And,
nice.
The quadratic equations that NFL front office personnel use to make their salary cap fit is available to all of them. They know how to move money through these equations, and very rarely are you saying goodbye to a player that you really wanted to keep in this league.
Yeah.
So,
well put.
Yeah, I just the salary cap is this big thing that hangs over every team, and yet every team seems to get around it really no problem at all the time. Will the bill eventually hit the table? Will this much talent be available on the roster 2 years from now? The answer is no. It's what makes this season so important. The last best chance to win built this way is what the 49ers have in front of them. The equation is going to change dramatically when, Purdy is one of the, if not the highest paid quarterback in football. And that extension is going to be directly tied to the results of this year. Yeah. Brock Purdy and the 49ers are a disappointment, and for one reason or another, by hook or crook or injury or whatever, everything went wrong. They're not a playoff team. He's looking at a really nice pay raise no matter what, but it's, that 48 to 50 million range where if they go on and win the Super Bowl, he's a $60 million man. Yeah. So there's a huge season in front of the Niners, and when it comes to future cap space, I really don't give a shit. 2024, it's bought, it's paid for, they can do it. Let's go.
Well said. So, Brandon Ayuk, what I would like to think is they were talking about a trade with Amari Cooper, and at the time, he was being such a bad teammate that I was thinking, just do it, because I looked at the numbers and I'm thinking, it's a lot of it's the system, right? I mean, you think about Brandon or Shanahan's system. It's partly what makes Ayuk such a good player. I mean, maybe not entirely, but a big part of it. It's one of those things where he's a good receiver and he makes great catches, and I'm so glad to have him back. But then Amari Cooper is a good player too, and you just imagine what he would have done with an actual quarterback.
There's no doubt that Amari Cooper's a good player. And in many ways, he could have maybe given you a similar, if not even better season in terms of pass catching target. But at the same time, the man's allergic to contact.
Yeah, that's true.
And Brandon Ayuk is, might as well be a pulling guard. He is such an effective blocker in the run game.
And we like guys that can hit.
And Kyle Shanahan demands that. So that's why Brandon Ayuk is the right fit. I am so sick and tired of fans and teams and executives trying to hold the system that a player fits so well against that player. Isn't the whole point to marry a proven system to really good talent? Like, that's what it is. Like what Brock Purdy would do on another team seems to be at the center of all the contentious debates around him. What Brock Purdy might do in some mythical situation doesn't interest me at all. I don't care about Brock Purdy's NFL career beyond the boundaries of the 49ers, because those are the boundaries he lives in. And that's the only way to evaluate. I'm not interested in evaluating hypothetical situations and who would fit them. I'm interested in evaluating the real shit. And the real shit is he is here. And he doesn't have to be a great quarterback in Carolina to prove that he's good in this league. He's not the Carolina Panthers quarterback. He is in a situation that is built to bring out the best in him. If this situation was also the most built to bring out the best in absolutely everybody, we would have never even gotten to Brock Purdy, because Jimmy Garoppolo would have put his arms around that job and strangled it and made it his forever. Or Trey Lance, or CJ Beathard, or any other of the names and faces we have seen really come nowhere close to the production that Brock Purdy has had as 49ers quarterback. And so, trying to invent a mythical hurdle for a player to clear so you feel good about saying he's really good at football, to me, is just a fool's errand.
I hear you. So one thing I was thinking, I got spoiled, is what I always say, is I grew up going to 49er games. And so, Montana was, when I was a kid, Montana was huge, and they never lost Super Bowls. So that was always something I kind of held my hat on. Like, Joe never lost a Super Bowl. Like, even if somebody compared to him to a really good current quarterback who's got a lot of Super Bowls, they might have some losses, and Joe didn't have any losses. So I always thought, like, now that we've lost a couple, obviously this season is huge now, but how does that kind of sit as far as this team and what do they need to do? As far as, like, that's a tough one to get out of. We know that.
Well, here's what they need to do. They need to win a Super Bowl. That's it. I mean, that's all that is left.
Can't lose another
for this regime, for this roster, for this coach. It's all that there is left to do. It's the only unchecked box in an otherwise, pretty satisfying run of football that Kyle Shanahan has produced when he was, able to get through those first 2 years of roster turnover. You look at what this team has done since 2019, it's very impressive. As impressive as you're allowed to get without actually having won a championship. The Niners are decidedly the second best team in the Kansas City Chiefs era that we're all living in right now. And the fact that they've run into the team that is defining the era twice in the championship round is unfortunate for the Niners. They haven't gotten over that hill. I doubt that they even want to try to climb it again. Anybody but the Chiefs, should they get to the Super Bowl, is probably the way they go about thinking about it. But this is a really, really well-run and good team. And fans that are dissatisfied with the no longer perfect record in the Super Bowl, I get it. Look, Indiana never lost a national championship game until they lost to Maryland. And that, that took away the perfect record of Indiana in the title game. And that always hurt me as an IU alumni. I love that. I love that when they get there, they win it. And I know that Niners fans love that too.
Yeah.
And the last thing you want to do is to be the team that has lost their last 4 Super Bowl appearances. Kyle and Jim Harbaugh have gone 0-3 now in the last 3 Super Bowl appearances for the 49ers. And you start talking about losing 4 in a row, and even though they wouldn't be consecutive years, you're moving into Buffalo Bills territory. You're moving into
I almost said
Minnesota
that
Vikings territory, and you don't want to live in that territory when you lived in the "we can't be beat in this game" territory. But it's look at it this way: if losing Super Bowls is the most anger you feel as a sports fan, that's still a pretty good degree of anger, right?
Yep.
It's better to lose a Super Bowl than not make the playoffs, correct?
Definitely.
Okay. So, the brass ring doesn't leave anybody satisfied, but it's still a pretty damn well-run team. It really is. So I understand the frustration. I would also like to suggest to everybody there are much worse situations to be in as a football fan than the fans, than 49er fans find themselves in.
It was mainly what I had to say when someone would compare Joe to Tom Brady. But anyways, you're listening to Damon Bruce, special guest Damon Bruce here on the Stick 49ers podcast, and Lucas Ortiz is on assignment. I'm Lucas McLaughlin. So
on assignment, what are you pulling? What are you saying? He's like Dave Fleming. Is he working for ESPN tonight, calling a Big 12 game? What do you mean he's on assignment?
Yeah, he's I don't know. I don't know his assignments, but so I've got a couple questions from Ortiz, and
okay.
So I'll go ahead and read a couple of those now. Ortiz says, Damon, congratulations on the YouTube and podcast success. I've been a subscriber and a listener for the last year and love the content you guys provide, or you provide, Bay Area sports fans. He lives in New York, by the way. So
thank you. Tell him I said thank you. I hope he hears this. I really appreciate that. I do.
And he says, with the success of the channel, do you think if your former employer asked to bring you back for a similar opportunity as Larry Krueger did, what would you say, or would you consider it?
Okay. It feels like that chapter of my broadcasting career is in my rearview mirror. It really does.
Yeah. I was going to say that. It seems like you're so much more happier now.
At the same time, I would be willing to listen to any situation that would mean a little bit more cash for me and the family, of course I would listen, but I'll tell you this right now. I would never return to radio if the trade-off was I had to give up what I have here on my own channel and in my own career. This to me is the path that I needed to be on. If radio were to offer a little side street to also drive down, I spent 20 years in the business. There's always going to be a romantic spot in my heart for radio. There always will be. But I just think that their business model is, it's not even debatably broken. It's broken.
Yeah.
Radio's an advertising business, and buying advertising on radio right now is hard to justify if you're the person who just bought it. With all the digital
keeps it
targeting,
around and just barely, right?
With all the digital targeting that you can do through, YouTube and the internet to sell your product, to just buy blanket old-fashioned advertising is a tough ask. Yeah. It was the death of the classified ads that killed newspapers, not bad newspapers, not shoddy journalism, but they lost a main revenue stream.
Yeah.
Radio's basically lost its main revenue stream, or has had it so severely altered that's why, guys who were paid well to hold high profile positions like I was, like Ray Ratto was, are, had to go. I'll tell you, if, your favorite host who is still there, I guarantee you they're still there for half the money that they used to make.
Wow.
And that's just the state of the industry right now. So I know that I'm pointed in the right direction. I don't feel like swimming to a sinking ship, yet at the same time, I used to love riding on ships. So, we'll see. But I really don't think it's going to be a situation that's even presented to me. I
think that you've taken a lot of their viewers and listeners. They're on your channel now because, they want to see you, and you're still here. So I'm really happy that.
Thank you. Look, if there's one thing that we know is that we're living in the content creator era.
Yeah.
We are no longer in the content distributor era. Nobody gives a shit if their favorite show is on ESPN, Hulu, Netflix, HBO, the Playboy Channel, USA, Comedy Central. No one gives a shit. They just want to be able to watch what they want to watch when they want to watch it and when it's convenient for them.
Yep.
The only loyalty anyone has is to their own listening habits and schedule right now. And, it's if you wanted to listen to me on the radio, you had to wait until my show started at 2 p.m.
Yep.
Now, if you want my reaction to whatever is in the headlines, you go to YouTube and chances are there's a video there that's just waiting for you to start it when it's convenient to you. And
Definitely.
so, we see the way the world's walking, so we might as well walk in that direction too. That's the way I feel about it.
So Ortiz's next question, I think we kind of covered it. He's talking about how do you think this team's going to respond to losing the Super Bowl? But I'm going to go to his third question. With Ricky Pearsall, is that how you say it? Pearsall returning to the team workout facility just 2 days after being shot in the chest. Do you think this will have a galvanizing and positive effect on the team's vibe and heading into week one?
I do. I mean, teams look to invent rallying cries and reasons to circle the wagon. Well, this isn't something that they had to invent. This really happened. And this is about a scary thing that has ever happened to a San Francisco 49er. And the fact that he is, they're talking about, well, he might be out there against Arizona in week 6. I mean, that's just incredible. It's absolutely incredible.
Unbelievable.
That he is in such good shape after going through something so traumatic. And we'll see how, there's the physical recovery and then there's the mental recovery from something like this. So I hope that he can put all of the pieces back together and begin a career that is long and robust and successful for him and the Niners and everyone involved. But I look at that guy and his story now, like football is like almost a secondary part of his story. He's lucky to be alive.
Yeah.
Let's see what he's got when he finally gets out there. Certainly no rush after everything he's been through.
I can't imagine what that's like after you get shot and just barely missing an organ like that. So I once was in my apartment in San Francisco and somebody broke into it while I was sleeping. So I woke up and there was a guy in my apartment. And that alone, he ran out when I yelled at him, but that alone was tough enough to deal with mentally for a long time.
That's scary as hell, man.
Please put bars on my windows the next day.
That's scary as hell. And it does. I'm sure you thought about, what did I do to invite that? What did I do to deserve that? What is my level of blame? The level of blame really is, it's like, Ricky Pearsall, was he wrong to wear a Rolex? Should he stay out of San Francisco, which is now lost to criminals like it's Thunderdome? No, the problem is in the assailant. The problem is with the person who was looking to make you the victim. You didn't do anything wrong. Pearsall didn't do anything wrong. Yeah. We just live in a world where there's some desperate ass people walking around.
And only 17 years old. That's nuts.
Yeah. Look, I mean, if you're willing to do what he was willing to do in the location he was willing to do it, it's a gots to go situation as far as I'm concerned. That is so brazen a robbery attempt that we can remove any level of your childhood immediately from your life. You are making adult fucking decisions at that point in time.
Totally,
So you should be treated like that.
Yeah. So, okay, back to football real quick, but just to kind of round this off. So we usually do score predictions. So I was wondering if you would do a score prediction for us for Monday Night Football.
How about this? What's the over-under sitting at right now? It's like 42, 43, something like that, I think I saw.
It's like 40 or, totally. 42.
Under. Yeah. Under. I wouldn't be surprised if both offenses, given, the 49ers a little bit tumultuous offseason. The Jets are the Jets. We'll see what they are. But I like the Niners to win the cover, and I think it was 4.5. And I like the under. I think it would be a low-scoring game. I think both of these teams got really good defenses that are going to carry these teams throughout an awful lot of the year. The 49ers offense, I think, is 2-3 games away from being sped up and revved up to the point where, that's what people expect, flirting with 30 points per game. That's coming.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we'll see it week 1. So I would hedge to the under, but I like the Niners to win and cover. There you go.
You heard it here on the Stick Niner podcast. So thank you so much, Damon, for coming on. Maybe one of these days, Pat Summerall will call your show.
Oh, wouldn't that be something else? Maybe R2 will be with him.
Donovan.
I'll tell you, you were definitely a fun part of the early part of my career. One of the reasons why, I loved radio.
Nice. That's awesome.
One of the reasons why I loved radio was because of all of the characters and personality that came out at night. And it would be hard to explain to someone how fun late night sports talk radio used to be. You were a big part of it, man. So I've always, I've told you, thank you for being a part of the cavalcade of ridiculous personalities that I used to have on my show. And it's why I always love coming and talking to you guys. Awesome. And maybe when your co-host is off assignment, be able to do this again sometime.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Damon. Have a great night.
Take care. You do the same. Happy football season to you and all your listeners.
Awesome. Go Niners.